Welcome to Eerie Bites of History, your daily serving of strange bites of the past. Today we have Sunken treasure, a river tragedy, and a deadly toast, all of which happened on September 3rd. Let's begin. On September 3rd, 1622, a Spanish treasure fleet known as the Nuestra Señorita de Atocha convoy was caught in a violent hurricane off of the Florida Keys. 17 ships, heavy with silver, gold, pearls, and precious cargo bound for Spain, were swallowed up by the raging sea. Atocha herself, along with 7 others, went down with nearly everyone on board. Hundreds of lives lost in a matter of hours. Only a handful of survivors managed to cling to floating debris and live long enough to tell the tale. For centuries, whispers of the sunken fleet stirred the dreams of treasure hunters who believed billions of riches still lay hidden beneath the sands and coral. While parts of the treasure were eventually recovered in the 20th century, vast amounts of gold and jewels still remain missing to this day, buried in the shifting ocean floor. The Florida Keys still echo with the watery graveyard where fortune, greed, and death intertwine. The sea never gives up all its secrets. To this day, the wrecks of 1622 remind us that beneath the waves lies both untold riches and the cost of human ambition. On September 3rd, 1878, the River Thames became a scene of one of Britain's darkest tragedies. The pleasure steamer Princess Alice, crowded with nearly 700 men, women, and children, returned from a day of the seaside. They were making their way back towards London. As twilight fell, the ship suddenly collided with a massive coal carrier, the Bywell Castle. The smaller vessel was torn apart, breaking into 2. Within a few minutes, the Princess Alice slipped beneath the surface. Chaos erupted as hundreds of passengers were thrown into the river. But the Thames is no ordinary waterway. It was heavily polluted with raw sewage and industrial waste. Survivors who did manage to swim often choked on toxic waters, while many others were trapped below deck with no chance of escape. By the time the river grew still again, more than 600 lives had been lost, and the recovery efforts stretched days as bodies washed ashore. Princess Alice disaster remains one of the worst civilian maritime tragedies in British history. A day of leisure turned into a mass death within minutes, made even more horrifying by the poisoned waters that robbed survivors of their last breath. On September 3rd, in the year 27 BC, Rome's ruling elite gathered for a grand banquet, an event meant for celebration, feasting, and political alliance. But before the night was over, several prominent nobles collapsed on the table, gasping for air after sipping their wine. Some convulsed, while others fell unconscious, and by dawn, many of them were dead. Rumors spread quickly through the city. Was this a tragic accident? Perhaps tainted storage jars? Or contaminated grapes? Or was it something far more deliberate? A calculated act of political murder? Rome at the time was a place where rivals vanished suddenly, where power shifted with poison as often as a sword, yet no culprit was ever named. No proof was ever found. The banquet's deaths were quietly recorded, then left to linger as whispers in history. Some believe it was the work of Augustine's enemies. Others suspected that the new empire himself, ensuring no noble had the strength to challenge his rise. Whatever the truth, the poisoning banquet remains an unsolved mystery. In ancient Rome, survival often hinged on not strength or cunning, but what was poured into your cup. Sometimes the most dangerous weapon is not a dagger, but the wine. Like your history snack-sized? Drop us a comment with your favorite bite and subscribe. Join us daily for your eerie dose of the past.